Green Lantern issue 2, Jeremy Adams writing with Zermanico on the art. And you weren't here for issue 1. Did you like issue 1?
I did. I actually, that was the week where I had read it and then public transport screwed me over and I had to miss the show, even though I was off. So yeah, no, I actually did quite like the first issue.
Good. So that still keeps up a little bit of that dual time period thing, where we're seeing kind of the first night he became Green Lantern again in the city, with his own willpower and whatnot. And there seems to be a little bit more to this story because he's flying around, he's testing his powers. There's a sort of fun little bit where there's some like robbers, the wrecking
It's the
crew.
Demolition Team.
The Demolition Team. Sorry, I forgot their name.
Do you not remember the Demolition Team?
I do remember. I've actually read some Silver Age Green Lantern, and they definitely pop up in some of those early stories. But they are on the run, and he decides to like scare them because they happen to be getting into a graveyard. So he does some Batman-inspired scare tactics, which, because he's got a Green Lantern ring, involves making some ghosts and scaring the shit out of them.
And the green works for that, like Spectre, style visions.
I feel like if I lived in the city where Green Lantern was known for being around, I might second guess it, but the Demolition Crew aren't the brightest bulbs in the planet. So
there's that, and I get the impression that Green Lantern has not been around in the city for a while.
That's true. That's been a kind of a plot point. So that's kind of the first half of the issue, although it does end with him flying up into the stratosphere and then the power turning off, and he's falling. It's probably my favorite page of the whole book is that shot of that full page spread of him falling out of the sky.
Good page. It's
gorgeous. Just those little touches of the lights of the city, sort of in the, underneath the atmosphere. That's good stuff. So I feel like there's probably more to that and like how he survived that we'll probably get next proper issue. I say that because we have Night Terrors.
Yeah, this just to jump ahead very slightly, it does say the end continues in Night Terrors.
Yes.
So this might be like it's kind of a stealth issue 3.
I feel like they've set it up and they'll continue on, but I've got a funny feeling that a lot of the threads that are in these first 2 issues might be conveniently ignored for 2 issues, just so that they do work as like a 2-part standalone thing.
Like a standalone thing that will function from where this leaves off at the end of this issue. But yeah, maybe.
Which I guess is only notable in the sense that you can notice it, but if you're reading in trade later, you probably wouldn't even think about it. Unless you happen to look at the contents and see that it's issue 1, 2, and then Night Terrors 1, 2.
The real questions will be, a couple of things. One, the fact that it's not going to have the backup in the Night Terrors, so that'll be pretty telling on a month-to-month basis.
True. Yeah.
2, I don't know if it's Zermanico or not on art for those issues.
Oh, it may not be. Yeah, that's a good point.
That'll be pretty jarring to jump away from. And 3, is it gonna it's only 2 issues in? It's weird to have this break, and then is it gonna have to do this weird make sure it's standalone? So can it almost have like a recap of where we're at in case someone's just jumping into these 2 issues, even if it is functionally just carrying on?
I mean, ultimately, this is not something I blame the book or I blame Adams for. This is on DC.
It's an editorial decision to have made them, after 2 issues, you're joining in with this line-wide thing.
And it's not just that, Shazam's the exact same thing. 2 issues and then, hey, it's time for Night Terrors. Like, we talked about that last time as well. At least with this book and that book, they are keeping the writer of the book on for the Night Terrors issues, so at least they've got a chance to sort of make it feel as connected and as important as it can be. But it is an awkward time, like ideally if you're going to have to interrupt things, you'd like to do it between arcs. You'd like to have their 6-7 issue arc out the way, then do your little interlude.
I've just checked. It's a different artist.
Is it a good artist?
Tanseeker.
Oh, that's alright then.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's not Zermanico, but it's not terrible.
It could have been Rosmo, so
that is true.
every time it's like not like one of your favorite artists. It's like you just say to yourself, it could have been Rosmo, it could have been Romita Jr., it could have been Gilliam March. I'm just trying to think of another one we didn't like. Anyway, so yeah, but it comes back to present day. Hal runs into Kilowog, who's just chilling at his place, his trailer, and gives him some pep talk. Also insults Mountain Dew while he's there. So
I don't blame him.
I quite like Mountain Dew, actually, so I don't know if I agree with Kilowog on this.
It's swill.
Oh yeah, it's because all of the other soda drinks are all like upper class beverages versus.
I mean, I don't drink that many of them, to be fair, but it's not about its class. It's just about the fact that it's bad.
It's not bad. Anyway, so we set up last issue that Carol has a fiance, and we get a sort of a little comedy page here of how Hal went from a regular job to being a pilot on a private jet in the span of 24 hours.
Just a regular job. He was in the mailroom.
Yeah,
like, he was at the low end of the company.
Yeah. And I think it was Ferris Air mailroom. He just ended up driving someone somewhere, and it ended up with him taking a job as a pilot. So sure enough, he's there, and the entire time, like, I think one of my favorite things about the art in this is Carol's face. As like, you know, he's like, Hal's been all nice to the new boyfriend and, you know, joking around with him, and Carol's just like staring daggers at him because she's like, I know what you're doing. You're interjecting yourself into all this to cause a ruckus. So I enjoyed all that, and sure enough, he does get up to some tricks here where he intentionally jolts the plane a bit to make them spill their drinks, and then locks them in the bathroom so he can talk to Carol.
Yeah, just with the Green Lantern ring, just like hovering it back there and just, you know, ignoring him when he's like, hey, guys, door's locked.
Yeah, I enjoyed all these hijinks. I think it's fun, and he's not necessarily in the right. I think what makes this work is that Hal is sort of disrupting this in a way that's not quite right. Like, he is, like, if anything, I hope he doesn't get rewarded for this. I hope, like, he has to learn that he's interfering here.
Yeah, that's presumably the point, right? That it's going to go down.
Yeah. That said, though, they made the new boyfriend so goddamn bland that it wouldn't surprise me if she does end up getting rid of him at some point. But
he is very bland.
He says something in the bathroom about if he can write off the shirt that he spilled the drink on as a business expense, and I'm like, oh god, dude, you are so dull.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh dear. So it's Hal and Carol talking about their thing and how he always leaves, and he's trying his best. I mean, honestly, like, it's all kind of fun hijinksy stuff that feels right for the characters. I appreciate that we have a supporting character for Hal Jordan again, because it's something I miss so much with Green Lantern for a long time. And I think what really makes all this thing, though, is just the art, like the facial expressions, the little microaggressions from Carol towards Hal. Hal being overly charming, but sort of seeing through the sheen of what he's actually doing. All of that plays really well, and the art gives it the needed subtext and the visuals that you kind of need for it.
One of my favorite moments for, you know, this specific thing you were talking about is right after Hal jerks the plane for the quote unquote turbulence. He turns to the other pilot. He's like, "You're right, yeah, not like a fighter jet. I'll go check on the passengers." And the look that other pilot gives him, it's absolutely perfect. It's disgust.
Almost like this other guy is going to get him fired as soon as they land. He's too dangerous. We can't have him, flying our jets with passengers. So it's all very fun. And then just out of nowhere, the plane runs into what looks like a lot of flying ghosts in the sky.
Yes, skeletal army. Very Wild Hunt. It's Wild Hunt-esque.
Oh, right. Oh, wait. Okay.
There we go. I got that.
So, that's basically it. I mean, the cliffhanger does kind of just come out of nowhere. I do appreciate the other pilot freaking out and asking for Hal, and just sort of like the reveal of what's actually going on up front is kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do here, but there's a likely chance that this 2-part story in Night Terrors is going to feel like a bit of just a fluffy diversion. I guess all we can really hope for is that it's going to be fun for what it is, and then we can get back to business.
It's so irritating because I'm like, okay, so it's presumably following directly on with the skeletal army in the sky. That's what it's dealing with, right?
Yeah.
But how do you deal with that and not address all the stuff with, you know, with Carol and, you know, and being on the plane and Hal's life right now for 2 issues? It's going to feel so jarring if it doesn't address those after 2 issues of being so focused on that.
I think you're not going to get any of the month ago stuff in the next 2 issues. I do think that because he's with Carol, there'll be a lot of natural back and forth and like allusions to their relationship. So I think that stuff will still be there. But I think all the month ago stuff where we're seeing how he get back into it, I think that'll be paused for 2 issues.
Probably. It's so weird. Like, how essential are these 2 issues going to be to the story, really?
I mean, hopefully, and this is maybe asking a lot of a writer, but like, it's entirely possible that it works on its own, and whatever happens with Hal and Carol throughout these 2 issues, where he's there to save her or they work together, can still tie into like their progression as a pair and their back and forth in the main story arc of the whole thing. Like, that's absolutely possible.
It's a real juggling act, though, because it's got to do that and also assume that there's people who are going to skip those 2 issues because there are random other things and still function when you come back for the following issue of this to some degree.
I don't know if you... I think if you're...
Unless they're planning on including those in the trade.
I think they probably are. And I think, especially if it's like a 2, because the way this ends, like, they have to be in the trade. Like, it ends with the T's get into it. Like,
I would hope so, but I have very little faith.
I think you have to make a choice. Either these next 2 issues are skippable, or you're making them just the next 2 issues of the run. I don't think you can balance between those 2 things. So I think... my hope is that it leans towards, no, they are just part of the run. And anyone who does choose to skip them because they just want to skip all the Night Terrors, it's a bit unfortunate for them, but I do kind of hope they come back for issue, it's 3. I was going to say 5, but it's issue 3.
It is issue 3, yeah.
And be like, oh, I feel like I've missed a bit. And because you should have missed a bit, because technically the next parts of the stories were these 2 issues. They just have a different title, annoyingly.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there's nothing perfect. There's no perfect solution
there
to
isn't,
this.
no.
But that would be my preferred out of all the possibilities, is that it functions closer to just being the next 2 issues of the run, and those who skipped it will feel a little bit pissed off about it. that's my well, because I have to read them anyway, so I'm being a bit selfish in that regard. But you know,
it's so frustrating because other books are just continuing with their normal numbers. What, like, if you're not gonna change writers, if it's just going to be essentially their next issues, why not just let it happen? The best case reason I can think of at all for why you would want to do it this way is it gives Manako a chance to get ahead on another couple of issues. That's the only good reason.
Well, if it was just this book, yeah, I'd agree with that. But obviously it's a line-wide thing, so I would suggest that what it actually is they want people to have that completion. Like, for obviously most people won't feel this way, but for those people who feel like, oh, well, I have to get everyone then, because it's all these 1s and 2s, I have to collect all the Night Terrors. They want those people who are not reading Green Lantern but get completionist sake for the event stuff to want to buy the whole thing. And they want to do an omnibus that's just all...
This has omnibus all over. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, they want the omnibus with all the Night Terrors issues, like that. It's all a bit skeevy. It's all a bit marketing gimmicky.
It's all a bit bullshit. So,
there's the backup story with John staying with his mother, and she's like, "You're thinking of the stars. Your mind's not here," and he keeps denying it. But she knows him too well. You can't help but think. But the rest of it is continuing this stuff in the future, seemingly. And I don't mind telling you, I'm not really sure what the hell's going on in this future stuff in the backup.
I'm getting vibes of when the core was gone and Kyle was, that last light lantern, like the flame.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting vibes of that, but with John for some reason.
Yeah, because like I wasn't entirely clear on it last issue, and I feel like this issue has just made me more confused about what
I think this needs full issues and not...
I agree with that, yeah.
Especially when you're trying to balance the the stuff back on Earth with it as well. So you've only got 4 pages of you got a double page, 2 double pages, and then at the final page there's 5 pages of content in the that future timeline. It's not enough.
No, it's not. And Johnson's obviously a good writer, and I like how the stuff with the mum's written. I think those scenes work really well, and I think the art here is quite good in this backup too.
But like, the backup, it's functionally telling two separate stories in its 7 or 8 page slot.
Yeah,
and it's that. So you got like 3 pages of one thing, 5 of another, a month apart. It's not enough, and then now you're going to have to go another. It's like 3 months essentially till you read the next part.
Yeah, it literally says at the end, "To be continued in Green Lantern issue 3 on sale September." Which, like, I struggled remembering.
Good luck remembering any of these 5 pages.
I struggled remembering the last backup, and that was a month ago. There is no way in September I'm going to remember this backup story. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, not a chance.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hurt by what the format of it is. Sadly, I can see it maybe working better in in trade form, where you can just read it all the way through potentially.
Yeah, in trade form, like I assume they're going to cut these out and just put it as one story at the end.
Yeah, I'd assume so.
Honestly, I'd have just made this an oversized one shot.
Yeah, or potentially make it bigger so that you can flesh everything out.
Either or, yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I really like the team, but it's just
it's not even that it's bad, because there's not enough space for it to be bad. It's just
no.
There's not enough time. There's not enough room for it to get into anything. It clearly has big ideas that it wants to tackle. Like, it's got a big story kind of brewing already. And it's got like this mystery box of what's going on, but it just hasn't got the pages to actually kind of get into the meat of that and make you want to know.
I think I like what it's poking at, but there's just not enough to actually enjoy it as a story. So that's unfortunate. All right, what are you rating Green Lantern issue 2?
I think I'll give it an 8. Yeah, we'll go with 8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8 as well. I think it's fun. I think it's got some of that back and forth with Hal and Carol. The stuff in the first half is fun. I especially like the sort of the cliffhanger of that with him falling out the sky.
Him impersonating Batman, doing the I am night, I am.
That's
vengeance.
right. Yeah. So it's got that fun spirit, but also more grounded version of Green Lantern that I've been missing for a long time. It's just part of what I liked about Jessica and Thingy's book at the time. It's like there was a lot of stuff on Earth with their with his family especially.
Oh yeah, the Green Lanterns.
Yeah. So
yeah,
she really emphasized the lanterns there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, because like otherwise all the titles kind of blend together.
Yes.
Like this is Green Lantern compared to Grant Morrison's The Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm. Yes.